Hi, I'm Melisa Idris and you're watching The Brand, the show about advertising, how it works and how it works on us. Now today I'm here at KidZania Kuala Lumpur in Mutiara Damansara, and I thought we could take a closer look at KidZania's unique marketing strategy. But before that, I've got a couple of regulars here with me and we're going to get their thoughts on what KidZania is all about. So this is Kase and Alia. Thank you so much for joining me on the show, guys. Tell me, you guys come to KidZania a lot, right? So what are the activities here what have you learned from the activities here?
I learned how to be more confident, and I learned how to be friendly with people, and also how real life works.
Okay, so what are some of the activities that you guys do here? Because there's a lot of activities, right? There's kind of role playing. It looks like really adult jobs, but kids can do that too. Yeah, so what kind of things do you do here? You've been here a few times.
I like flying the plane because...
Flying the plane. So you actually go into the plane and...
Yeah, and we have our own suits. We have our own gear. We get to choose what type of plane we get to go in. We have our own co-pilots, which are like our friends or our buddies, and we learn to fly in different techniques.
And what about you, Kasi? She likes to fly the plane. What about you?
Well, I like to be the radio announcer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
you can have my job. What do you do as a radio announcer?
We talk, I say about the latest news at KidZania, and they play songs.
So is there a KidZania radio here that you get to host? No, so you just pretend to be a radio announcer?
Yes.
And have all these activities shaped what you want to be when you grow up? I mean, now that you've tried them out here, do you know what you want to do when you grow up? Do you want to be a radio announcer when you grow up?
I want to be a doctor.
You want to be a doctor?
Yeah.
Have you done anything here that is related
surgeon,
to...
surgeon,
okay.
like autopsy and nursery.
Okay, so you've tried it out here?
Yes.
What about you, Alia?
I'm not really sure, but I either want to be a teacher or a doctor.
You want to be a teacher or a doctor?
Because I really want to help the community.
Okay, that's good. And then the skills that you've learned here will help you do that, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking to me, guys. I'm going to go look for the mayor of KidZania and ask him a little bit about how he runs this city. We'll be back after this. And we're back. I found him, the mayor of KidZania. I have with me Sharul Nizar Ahmad, who is Mr. Mayor of this city. And it is a city, isn't it?
It is. It's a 80,000 square feet kid-sized city. Mm-hmm. It's really exciting to have everyone here. And within this facility, we have 60 establishments that offer more than 100 activities for the visitors. 100
activities. Okay, so we've just heard Kase and Alia a little bit earlier, and they are regulars here at KidZania, part of the KidZania Congress as well. And they were saying that they enjoy activities like radio announcing, like the airplane, so they get to pretend to be pilots. So for those who've never visited KidZania, just set the scene for us. So KidZania, as I understand it, is sort of a marriage between a nursery and a theme park. Would that be correct to say?
Well, in my own words, basically KidZania Kuala Lumpur is an award-winning indoor family edutainment theme park.
Indoor family edutainment.
Edutainment theme park.
Okay, so that means you're learning while having fun.
Exactly. Even during school holidays, children continue to learn. And how we differ ourselves from the other facilities, it's basically us offering an experiential learning, integrated learning towards all the activities that we have. Mm-hmm. So this is something very different from other theme parks, as we are not just merely focusing on excitement or fun. There has to be an element of education that we have to inculcate in all of our activities.
Okay, so give me an example. So you said 100 activities, right?
Yes.
So what are some of the activities that incorporate learning while having fun?
Well, to be honest, there won't be any activities approved by our franchisor if they are not carrying any educational element.
Okay.
So everything will have to be thoroughly discussed between the partners as well as our franchisors in ensuring that we don't dilute the educational element. So, for instance, every activity that you do, the first thing that you will have to do is basically to put on your uniform, and these are the very basic life skills that we teach the kids.
Okay.
And I receive a lot of comments from families, from mums especially, complimenting KidZania, because once they visited KidZania, after that visit the kids will basically go back home and start to fold or hang the clothes.
Okay,
So
because
this
there's
is
a certain element of respect
Exactly.
for the uniform now.
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is essentially kind of role-playing adult jobs, right?
Yes.
So kids get to learn what it is that adults do in this kind of safe environment,
Yeah.
but tailored for young children. What is the age range that we're looking at, Shah?
Even toddlers can enter KidZania, but the best age to visit is basically between 4 to 14.
4 to 14.
Yeah.
Okay, that's quite a big range.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do a little bit later in the show is talk about how you tailor to such a wide range of kids, especially today's generation of kids
Yeah.
that are, completely different from 20 years generation of
Absolutely.
kids. So we'll come back and talk about that. But I do want to learn a little bit more about KidZania, because what you mentioned the franchisor, and
Yeah.
what I didn't know was KidZania is a Mexican company. It started back in 1996 from originally from Mexico.
Originally from Mexico, it was initially called La Ciudad de los Niños, which means
stands for?
the land of cool kids.
The land of cool kids.
So
okay.
hopefully I'm a cool mayor.
Okay. I feel cool by association already.
Yeah, but you see, we are celebrating our 20th anniversary for KidZania Global
Wow.
at the end of this year. Despite age 20, I think the concept of KidZania has always remained the same. The operation is anchored at the philosophy of Learn Life Today, where we allow the kids to basically to broaden the children's aspiration by offering them real life skills that would enable them to have a better future. And for KidZania Kuala Lumpur specifically, we have actually taken aggressive measures to improve our educational elements so that the kids, whenever they return to KidZania, they will have a new learning proposition. And this can only happen with continuous forging of partnerships that we have with sponsors and partners. And most of them that we have here are very forward-thinking companies.
And that's really interesting that you brought that up. I do want to talk about your partnerships with players within the industry, and that's a really, I think, unique way of marketing, not just to kids and parents, but also the I guess the tie-ups that you have with these companies. We're going to come back and talk about that right here on The Brand. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Brand. I'm Melisa Idris, and I have with me the mayor of KidZania here with me, Sharul Nizar Ahmad. Now, thank you for being on the show. We were just talking about that. We were talking about KidZania and its unique marketing strategy. KidZania, I always assumed, had got its revenue mostly from ticket sales. But what I was surprised to learn was there's a portion that comes from branded content, and the way you work with brands is really quite interesting. So talk to me a little bit about KidZania's business model.
Okay, KidZania business model, it's our sustainability is like what you mentioned, it's from admission revenue, but also a big portion of it comes from sponsorship. And this is something interesting because before we can dwell deeper into the topic of sponsorship, it's really important to understand that KidZania will not be KidZania without real life brands, forward-thinking partners. So for instance, the reason why KidZania Kuala Lumpur and other facilities will have to work together with real life partners, it's because we wanted to have an authentic experience, a sense of reality. To all the activities that we offer in the establishments. And this can only be done by partnering with brands, and they basically lend us industry expertise and experience that we don't have.
All right.
So basically we run the operations, but with a lot of input as well as support from the industry partners.
Okay, so ticket sales or admission fees still make up the bulk of the revenue. But you know, I mean, walking into KidZania, the first thing you see is a giant AirAsia plane, right, right, hanging on from the ceiling. So you tie up, as you said, with real life brands. So as parents and children walk in, they're seeing brands that they see in everyday life.
Yes.
Now, why is that? So why the need to have branding? Because it could so easily be a generic, you know, unnamed airline, right?
Well, we can use an unnamed airline company, but again, as I mentioned, there's no sense of realism that we are able to offer with generic establishments. Basically, if we don't have the existing partners, we could potentially have Air Sharul or Air Melisa, which does not actually bring any logic to it, because when the kids exit KidZania, they can't actually associate what they've learned here to an actual brand that they see outside. So this is what we consider the core concept of the entire KidZania business.
Realism.
It's realism, and basically a noble cause that we've taken, which is to ensure that the kids can broaden their horizons. We would want them to be self-sufficient, and more importantly, to be able to understand the good and the bad. That's really important after every visit to KidZania because of these brands.
Okay, so let's talk sponsorship first. So partnering with these brands. So you know, there are a handful of airlines out there, but AirAsia is the one that is featured. So there's a partnership with, there's a sponsorship with AirAsia, and that's for just the aviation side. I see, you know, there's banking, there's all sorts of things. There's a radio station. There's, I think, so there are some kind of social elements. There's the fire truck I can hear outside. What are some of the other industry sectors that you have here in KidZania?
I can name a few. Automotive, we have Volvo.
Okay, so you tied up with Volvo
We've
for
tied up with Volvo
for
And
what
automotive.
do the kids learn?
Well, the kids will basically be given an opportunity to design a new Volvo vehicle.
They design
Yes.
a car.
They design a car, and the exciting bit about this sort of activities, it's not just for the sake of doing it in KidZania. We basically send samples of the end result after the kids has actually completed the activities back to Volvo. And you know, some consideration, I believe, are being taken by our partner to see whether they can actually embark on a new project based on the outcomes that the kid has actually produced here in KidZania.
Okay, that's,
so that's really
quite
exciting. Another one that I can share with you would be Hotel Central. We've just announced a new partnership with a hotel chain called Hotel Central, and one of the exciting bit of this sponsorship is basically an exchange program where they are open to allow the kids to work as an actual receptionist at their premise.
Okay.
So this is something that we are also looking at in terms of diversifying our sponsorship agreements.
So what are the educational skills that the kids get out of these? I mean, apart from just mimicking real life jobs, what kind of educational value? You mentioned educational value is important, but what skills do they get?
Okay, in terms of skills, for every visit to KidZania, there's a few generic qualities that I can share with you. First is financial literacy.
Financial literacy, and
Absolutely.
that's with the KidZania's.
It's with our currency called KidZania's. So the kids will learn how to earn, how to spend, how to save, more importantly. And in a few instances, they learn how to donate. So that's really exciting to see a 4-year-old wanting to donate KidZania's for the betterment of the society. And then we also look at the model in which society is being built upon. So when the kids realize that they are actually living in a society, they now understand that they have to have some sort of compassion. You know, how a community should be behaving amongst each other.
Working together, collaborating.
Exactly. And as a mayor, I think one of the greatest thing that I can see is actually how kids now understand the inner workings of a functioning city. So prior to this, they only think of KidZania as a theme park, but now they really take it as a real facility, a real city for kids. So now they know that you know, in a real city, they will not be anywhere in this world without a police station, without a hospital or the clinic, a fire station. So they can relate to it now. And more importantly, when they gap the bridge amongst all these learnings, I give an example. We have an activity called the Building in Flames, for this activity, there's a collaboration between three departments.
Okay.
So one is the firefighter trying to extinguish fire.
Put the fire
And then I have my little police officers barricading the entire area so that there won't be any further injuries. And then I have my my ambulance together with the doctors on scene, trying to basically give help, medical assistance to those injured. So this is something that the kids can actually see, and they learn that, hey, you know what? We are really depending on each other to make this world a better place. And that's really what I wanted to see.
So they see the different parts and how they work together.
Yes.
All right, we're going to come back after these messages and talk about experiential marketing right here on The Brand. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Brand. I'm Melisa Idris with Sharul, the mayor of KidZania. Now, for all the different brands that you've mentioned just now, Sharul, why do they want to partner with KidZania? What benefit does it bring to them?
Well, this is talking about experiential marketing. And when we talk about experiential marketing, it's really about our unique partnership program that differs tremendously from other marketing platforms. So in KidZania, we allow, or we give a platform for the partners to basically have a very strong, high quality interaction medium between them.
What do you mean by that?
As well as the target market.
Okay.
I give an instance. The kids, when they come to KidZania, they don't just get a directive on how to do things. They are not being shown how to complete an activity, but they will actually be part of the team. Be part of the team for the sponsor to deliver an activity for another group of kids. So they are actively involved. So this actually brings what we call brand seeding. And this is what we can offer to the partners. It's not talking about return on investment, but it's more on return on objectives and return on involvement.
So brand seeding means that there will be brand recognition of specific, name brands from very young. So you've got, kids coming through KidZania's doors that are exposed to certain brands from a very young age. So that's the return on objective that you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I think what we needed to understand better is once the kids have actually completed those activities, they would understand the core business of the partner that has actually establishments within KidZania. So there's a couple of things that we have to see when selecting a partner, because it's not as easy as just jumping into.
How do you choose? I mean, there's so many different brands out there. How do you choose brands that will value add to KidZania's activities?
It's basically getting a partner that can complement the inner workings of KidZania Kuala Lumpur. For instance, as I mentioned earlier, we needed industries like banking, automotive to be present in this facility. So it boils back to the return on objectives that we can actually support. Because some companies would actually see it from the return on investment perspective, in which we can't really give a solid answer to it. But when we talk about return on objectives and involvement, that's something that KidZania, like no other, can actually give a very strong returns on the long term for the partners.
So in your conversations with these potential sponsors, I mean, do you have difficulty in convincing them that it's difficult to measure the success of these brand partnerships?
As I mentioned, if the objective is return on investment, yes, it's
it's
at
easy
times,
to convince them.
it's difficult to convince.
If it is ROI, then it will be difficult
but
to convince.
if they're looking at it from an objective standpoint, I give an example. We have a partner, LHDN. Fantastic, yeah. The kids love the activity.
The kids learn how to pay
well,
income tax?
They don't learn how to pay income tax, but they learn what are the money used for. Once you pay taxes,
what tax revenue is used for?
Exactly. So the objective of LHDN coming into perspective with KidZania is basically to educate the public, especially kids from a very young age, that the money will be used for the betterment of the nation, for infrastructure, for hospitals, for education, so that the kids can, when they go back, they can actually influence the parents. You don't just complain, because now I know what the money is being used for.
So your brand partnerships are not just to corporate commercial brands. There are also government agencies involved, is
Absolutely. We have the first MBPJ, It's the first municipal, well, I would say association that we have struck in terms of a sponsorship deal, and it's never seen in any other KidZania before. But again, this is about them wanting to educate kids and the public about the importance of enforcement. It's not just people, you know, with happy triggers wanting to disturb your peace, but it's really the importance of having a valid business license.
I see.
And why is it important? That's something that the kids are being exposed to at the very beginning.
All right, and how often do you change up these activities? Because, you know, one of the things that I'm thinking about is how do you get repeat customers? I mean, you know, because it's experience-based, how do you get them to come back, keep coming back?
As mentioned earlier, we have more than 100 activities. So basically, for every visit, they will not be able to conclude everything. So that's one thing. But also in terms of the content, we would prefer to refresh the activities at least once a year. The number of repeat visitation that we have is quite exciting for KidZania. It's above 35% at this juncture. So basically, we also wanted to excite these people with what we call variable programs.
What is that?
So variable program is a new addition of activities that we do on a quarterly basis. So two of the most successful programs that we've had in the past would be Kids and Tech. Talks about technology. That's really where the kids' interests are for the time being, and Kids versus Food. That's where people like me would be very excited.
Kids versus food, also to get them involved in, you know, cooking,
in
baking,
preparing food by themselves.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so that's really, we've done that 3 consecutive years, and KidZania Kuala Lumpur is looking to refresh the content by offering something new this year.
Well, you brought up an interesting point about kids and technology, because again, kids, it's a different breed of kids right now, and many of them are, you know, perhaps, I guess, attached to the hip with a gadget or a digital device. How do you get kids, have you had to change the way KidZania operates and the partnerships that it's had in the past 7 years now, isn't it? Because of this shift to more digital, more technology?
Absolutely, we have to adapt to the needs of the kids, and the biggest change that we've had is actually wanting to approach, and we have approached a lot of tech companies, people with you know, the ability to offer new upcoming profession. So during the recent study that we've done, kids nowadays, the top 2 professions that they wanted to try out is, the first one is YouTuber, and the second, they wanted to be a civilian drone controller.
Oh, a civilian?
Drone controller.
Wow,
exactly.
A civilian drone controller. That's a proper job.
That's a proper job.
Kids want to do now.
Absolutely, they wanted to do it now, and they wanted KidZania Kuala Lumpur to have a course on it. So our objective in terms of adapting is to find someone with that content, with that expertise, to come in and teach the kids. Because in 2025, in a couple, I think in 25 years, there will be 12 million jobs that will disappear.
Sure.
Yep. And 4 out of 5 upcoming professions are all STEM-based. So it's very technology-based, very engineering-based. So that's where we wanted to move together with the bandwagon. We do not want to keep continuing with this traditional professions that we have, but again, to be at the forefront in terms of offering, you know, possible future professions.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so and that has changed the way you tie up with the brands as well. All right, well, that's all the time we have today. Shah, thank you so much for speaking to me.
My pleasure.
I'll be back with the brand same time next week, so make sure you catch us then. I'm Melisa Idris, signing off.